Africans believe that this is the land of milk and honey. Everything is perfect here, on the broader surface. They don't think about, in the deeper conversations, right? And they don't know how the politics is connected to their daily lives. Like, we're phone banking, we're calling people and they're like, oh, I'm not going to vote because I don't want to vote for Kamala and I don't want to vote for Trump. And we're saying, okay, that's fine. But local level is way more important. And then we go back and say how important it is and how we can connect it back to their daily lives.
But that goes to show you the influence that he has. And unfortunately, all of the misinformation that goes out here that people continue to hang on to. And that is playing a key role right now as we are seeing all of these things, unfold live. As a Democrat, I'm not going to sit here and feel comfortable and confident. This race has never been, this close. It is so close. Like right now, we have no idea who is going to win this race, but it's going to take, especially the Democratic Party, to do anything and everything it can in the next 11 days to make sure that we secure a win for our democracy, for our freedoms, for what this country stands for, not only for its citizens, but across what it represents, the symbol of democracy around the world.
The local Kenyan and the Kenyan and African demographic in your district. It's well known that elected representatives in Congress, for example, have the ability to influence public policy in African countries. And we have to go back to our countries because this is still near and dear to most of your constituents. How true is this as far as representatives from the local U.S. legislatures is concerned? We know about Congress and the way they influence policies in African countries, but is there any way in which, in your position, for example, or other people in different U.S. legislatures do things in ways that can impact, for example, within your district, for example, is there anything you can offer to your Kenyan constituents or to your Somali constituents or to even your Liberian constituents who are still very connected to their families back home? Hulda.
Yeah. Yes, that is something that obviously I continue to get questions on. How does your role influence, Kenyan policy or just international policy in general? And it's interesting. You have to understand from what context, right? Obviously, the U.S. Congress and the president have the international right to really engage in a manner that makes sense for the U.S. as a country, and when engaging foreign countries. But locally, let me bring it to a local level. So locally, U.S. officials, a House of Representatives, even the city representatives. For example, our mayor went to Japan, and Denise, you can correct me if I'm wrong, went to Japan and was, creating partnerships with businesses there to bring those businesses here to the city of Brooklyn, Brooklyn Park. And then also we have what we call sister cities, right? I think recently we just had the famous actor, what's his name? Anaitwaje?
Idris Elba.
No.
Nigerian actor.
Very famous.
The great Idikoko. Van Vicker.
No.
Chikwa.
Hey.
I don't know why he's drawing a blank right now, but
it's right here in front of Mshale.
There you go.
Yes.
By the way, shout out to Mshale. Mshale is doing an amazing job.
Yes. So Mufe the Mijo.
Well, maybe Omosh, if he was here, would have known him.
There you go. Yeah. So he's a great Nigerian actor.
Yeah.
But anyways, so going back to my point, locally we still have influence when it comes to, creating partnerships with businesses of foreign governments, right? That really foster collaboration and partnerships within the economic sphere. And then from a social perspective as well, the cultural exchange, that opportunity is there. I know that a couple of legislators, a good friend of mine, Senator Claire Overburton, she was a part of that class of the first ever Black women elected to the Senate here in the state of Minnesota last election cycle, and she just came back from Europe in regards to a collaborative statewide effort to increase partnerships. So what am I trying to say? In regards to Kenyan, you asking me directly how my seat might influence Kenyan policy. It's by advocating for immigrant friendly policies, right? Supporting, depending on what partnership or who we are connecting with, by supporting, Kenyan American communities and pushing for sister city programs, right? Not only within, Kenya, obviously, but across the different communities that are represented here. There's some leeway that has happened within the Liberian community. There's some leeway that has happened, obviously, within the Nigerian community. But I think from a local level, but I think from a state level, we have a chance to really increase that partnership and collaboration. And another good example is I have a business owner within this district. His name is Mr. Edo, and he owns an entertainment, a club, and then a market, a grocery store, right? And a couple of other smaller businesses here in my district. And this man currently, right now, is back in Africa, trying to create partnerships and business connections where he's bringing those products from Africa to Brooklyn Park and hopefully expand that, because as our population of African immigrants is growing within this district, it's also important that we also bring in businesses that really cater to our needs as well. And so if you come to Brooklyn Park, literally, you can't drive a mile without seeing an African restaurant or an African store that really caters to what we're used to. You guys know this very well, right? Back in the day, we used to go to Kenya and you pack stuff with your favorite Roykos and you name it,
Curry powder.
Those things here.
Sausages.
Chili cube.
Those sausages, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now you literally can go down the street here in Brooklyn Park and go to an African grocery store and get those things right here, and so that is what I'm talking about when I talk about this collaboration, international collaboration. When we are at the table, we can definitely advocate for resources to go into that so that we can build our community and that reflects the diversity of this community.
Oh wow, so Brooklyn Park, I think, is a place to go. Next time when we go to Minnesota.
To do a live interview,
we can go there. No, we will go there and we say we know the member of House representative here.
Yeah.
So
we ask for tea.
We just ask for stuff.
Chai, mandazi.
Yeah.
Na tutakuwa sorted.
Yeah. If anyone asks us to pay, we are like, no, we know the representative of this area. Put it on her tab.
Tunajua sonko.
Yeah. So yeah. So
let me know how that goes. Niambie.
Yeah, so quite interesting here. Washeke says in Pennsylvania 2 weeks ago, Trump vowed to carry out the largest mass deportation in American history. Many of our brothers and sisters could be impacted if someone is asking why vote blue. This should be a very valid reason. And we're going to get back to those brothers and sisters of ours who are supporting Trump. For me personally, I've wanted to hear directly from them, but I don't know. But we're almost getting to that point. And we'll be wrapping up. But before that, Denise, I want to come back to, I don't know about the Liberian community, but the Kenyan community, I even had to apologize to Hulda at the beginning of the show for us not, getting to her campaign earlier during the primaries for an interview, because there was so much that was going on in Kenya. I'm not sure if you're in tune with that, but it was on international news. There was a major uprising in Kenya. And a lot of people got killed in that uprising. So Kenyans were very focused on what was happening back home. Why now? Outside this big major event that was happening in Kenya, but just generally speaking, why would you say our African community, for the most part, is so plugged on politics back home, but very disconnected from the local politics in the US, which has a bigger impact on their lives? And I may be, I may be generalizing a bit, but at least on the Kenyan community, you've interacted with us, and like we are on our politics daily, every day. I don't know if it's the same case with Liberians and other communities, but Denise, talk to us about this, like how we can cure this problem to get people activated on local US politics.
So yeah, Liberians, they have their Spoon TV, they have their TLC Africa, they have their own of mediums and channels that they listen to stay connected to what's happening on the ground. We have Waterside Market here in the Brooklyn, and we have other restaurants. You go there, it'll be just like you're back home, right? People are gathered there on the weekends, they're having conversation, and all those conversations is about Africa, it's about Liberia, it's about wherever they're from, but it's not about, they're gathered here, but it's not about the conversations that are happening here. Again, I think what is important is the education. Africans believe that this is the land of milk and honey. Everything is perfect here, on the broader surface. They don't think about, in the deeper conversations, right? And they don't know how the politics is connected to their daily lives. Like, we're phone banking, we're calling people, and they're like, oh, I'm not going to vote because I don't want to vote for Kamala and I don't want to vote for Trump. And we're saying, okay, that's fine. But local level is way more important. And then we go back and say how important it is and how we can connect it back to their daily lives, right? What if a highway gets put into your community? How is a highway coming to your community going to impact you? Well, it's going to impact your livability and your life expectancy. High pollution in communities of color. What causes this pollution? Manufacturing jobs, right? The car manufacturing, where those cars are being built, that's going to be causing more pollution in the air. We suffer more from cancer, because of the health policies, right? Black women, we die more from cancer than white women, and even at a younger age in our 20s, because of some of the health discrimination that's happening here, right? And who is the person that's going to impact that? Hospitals are considered nonprofit entities, right? And schools are considered nonprofit entities. So their budget comes from where? The government. And so the state decides what the budget's going to go to these different hospitals and clinics. And therefore, that's supposed to impact the care that we get. And so decisions are about everything that happens to you is happening on a daily basis. Where do you go to decide, I don't want this to happen to me anymore, right? I don't want to be living in high pollution areas where we're dealing with lead poisoning, right? Where we're dealing with chemicals in our water, where we're dealing with chemicals in the way our homes are being built or maintained, right? Our water purification. Your city is the one that purifies your water. And to the extent in which they purify your water, it takes a city council vote for that to happen. Brooklyn Park has some of the worst water here, right? And every time it comes up for vote, the people who can afford water softener in their homes are going to say, no, we don't want to pay for that. But it's literally maybe $5 additional being added to your property tax to have a better water purification system that is going to be better for our bodies, better for our pipes, because when we have bad salt water, hard water, it destroys our pipes. It's causing you, again, as a homeowner, to have to cover that cost. And if you rent, whatever impacts that apartment complex, you're going to pay for it in your rent. So don't think because you don't own a home that your money is not being spent in the tax dollars. It is. That apartment complex relies on you to pay the mortgage and pay the bills. So anything that is impacting that apartment complex, as far as the property tax, bad piping, and they have to maintain the place, the upkeep, you're paying for all of that, and therefore they're going to utilize your tax dollars to pay for that. So whether you're a renter or homeowner, it's important for you to get involved. Stop paying attention to the politics back home. You can still pay attention, but please prioritize the politics here.
Wow, I mean, I don't know whether that's something that we can we can do, like especially when it comes to the Kenyans, and with Kenyan politics. But now coming back to Hulda, as we wrap up, on the roller coaster of U.S. presidential politics, because we cannot ignore the presidential politics because it's right in our face every day. Of course, you're a Democrat and a supporter of Kamala. You, however, come from a district that has, like a mix of, like Democrats and also has some Republicans and maybe even some Trump supporters. Kenyans and Africans, by and large, have supported the Democrats for a long time, and there's some people who've questioned that. But there's been a sprinkling of some fervent support for Trump from certain people in the Kenyan community, which cannot be ignored. Why do you think this is happening, especially because of the open hostility that he's shown towards people of color, immigrants, people of other religions like Muslims? And how do you think the Democratic establishment, or rather, what do you think the Democratic establishment should do to address this? Hulda.
Yeah, so that is a question that continues to plague our communities, honestly, just our nation in general, right? This man continues to show us who he is, and everything that has come up, I mean, if it was somebody on another political sphere, but whether that is statewide, locally, who had a couple of felons and the rap sheet that he has, they wouldn't even come close to a political leadership type of space, right? But that goes to show you the influence that he has, and unfortunately, all of the misinformation that goes out here that people continue to hang on to. And that is playing a key role right now as we are seeing all of these things, unfold live. As a Democrat, I'm not going to sit here and feel comfortable and confident. This race has never been, this close. It is so close. Like right now, we have no idea who is going to win this race, but it's going to take, especially the Democratic Party, to do anything and everything it can in the next 11 days to make sure that we secure a win for our democracy, for our freedoms, for what this country stands for, not only for its citizens, but across what it represents, the symbol of democracy around the world. And that's what's at stake right now. And this man has laid out a clear plan of what he will do from day one. And we've seen what he did during his administration. Yes, you can find information that will justify, why you support him. And sadly enough, Brother Ali, as you've mentioned, that there's a couple of people from not only the Kenyan community, but the African immigrant community in general, who continues to stand behind this man, even after his rhetoric around, calling some of African countries, I'm not going to say it on air. We know what he called, where he was the only president who literally put in place a ban of Muslim, even its own citizens, right? Like just that alone should have been a clear no. And then we come to January 6th, right? I was in a forum the other day, forum/debate, I would call it a forum, where, my opponent talked about, the fine folks of January 6th, and what they were trying to do. And you sit here and you're like, what world are we living in when we literally have people storming our capital trying to, basically tear down our democracy, and they're considered fine folks? And they should be given patents in terms of their jail sentences. Like, that is crazy to me, right? So when I hear our community, some members of our community, talk about, why they're supporting supporting him, I can't, in my right mind, justify those reasons. Because if you're talking about conservative social values, and let's be honest, the old Republican Party, when we first came to the U.S., we were like, we're probably Republicans because they're family, faith, you name it. Like, that makes sense. But that's not the same Republican Party that is right now. And definitely Trump doesn't represent those conservative values that most of us immigrants grew up in. And when we talk about the economy policies, and somebody was challenging me about his economy policies, I'm sitting here going, have you looked at his track record when it comes to his own businesses and how he started his business and where he got that money and what he has continued to do to support, corporations when, the average citizen can't even afford to pay their mortgage, put food on the table for their kids, right? And so it's a tough conversation to have when people are so caught up in his lies and have taken that as the law, the truth, the ultimate truth, and it has been so ingrained in our politics that has created this division. And I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that the DFL party doesn't have our own issues. We also have our extremes where we also have to be accountable. But in the end, at the end of the day, we want to sit here and make sure that our democracy come November 4th, November 5th, is protected. I want to wake up November 5th, 6th and go, I did everything in my power to make sure that we save our democracy. And that's what's at stake here, and so it's very hard to have a conversation with our people about, why they support Trump. But at the bottom line, again, the audacity and the beauty of democracy is that you get to express your views, and you get to act on those views, and so the goal for the Democratic Party is to make sure that especially those people who are in the middle, who are independent, who are so sick and tired of this two-party system, right, and who still truly believe in the true essence of democracy, meaning that, everybody, it don't matter what party you align yourself with, you have a voice and that voice matters. How do we appeal for the middle ground? And that's where the battle is right now, because you have your extremes on both sides, right? And so the battle is really in the middle, and I'm hoping that the Democratic Party will carry the day.
All right. Thank you so much. Now, here, before we wrap up, Joshua Bonyo was saying, I think this was towards Denise, wow, Liberia, the country that Africans who were taken from Africa back to Africa and now brought themselves as Liberians to America. These are strong people. They have seen life. So, meaning they have a deeper political grip since they have been in America longer than Kenyans. But I see Mora, well done. Win this, you have support. So Mora is already, I think, out of the names that were given to Denise, Mora seems to be
Mora seems to start because it was 2-1-1.
Yeah. So Mora seems to be sticking, and Mora has a nice. It has a nice tinge.
Mora Dennis Butler.
Yeah, Mora. Yeah.
Mora Dennis Butler.
Mora Denise Butler.
Mora Denise Butler.
Mm-hmm. And then
there goes the Miss B, right? So the
Miss B, there you go.
Yeah.
The Mora B. So I'm dropping Miss and I'm putting Mora B. All right.
Oh,
thank
Mora
you.
B. Okay.
Or
Moraa.
Yes.
Butler. There we go.
Yeah.
Or just B Mora.
B Mora.
Yes.
Mora.
I think I like
Mora.
Mora.
B. Just B.
No.
B.
I'll just be Mora.
Mora.
Be Mora.
Nothing
Be
else
Mora.
there.
Get it.
Okay, all right. And then Washeke says, what is clear is lack of understanding in the connection of how politicians affect our daily lives, from property taxes to school funding. I think Africans are so used to dictators, and that's why they can identify and support Trump despite his rap sheet.
Well, some Haitians are still supporting Trump even after the debacle of Springfield.
Yeah, I mean, this is very tragic. But we also have to remember there's been a very consistent misinformation campaign, and people don't understand the power of these algorithms. Yes. Like the algorithms, they'll keep showing you. Once you click, you'll end up in a doom cycle where they will keep showing you the same thing, and at some point you'll start believing. So if you had not, like, educated yourself from the beginning, you will be in a situation where you'll not know. I think there's someone who's no, I think one of you needs to turn down the volume. Okay, all right, good. Yeah, so I think we're good now. But I was saying, if you've not anchored yourself with certain values, or you've not properly educated yourself politically before you start going onto these online platforms, you will be bought by the highest bidder, because wherever, like, the algorithm will sway you is where you'll go. And I think, unfortunately, that's where some of these brothers and sisters of ours, it's mostly, I personally have to say, I've seen it's mostly men. Like in the Kenyan community, there's one particular woman that we've seen. Of course, we're not going to mention her name, but it's predominantly, like, men. So I don't know whether there's something, that's being said in men's circles to attract. And I'm talking strictly within the African community, not the African, because also the African American community, they also have their own experience, their own experience with that. So maybe Hulda, give us a pitch, one last pitch, to that struggler, to that person who's saying, I don't even know if I'll go and vote because it won't make a difference.
That independent.
That independent, or even that Republican who's like, why am I voting for someone who doesn't look like me? What pitch do you have for that person?
Yes. If I could show you some of the text messages that I receive, it's unreal. Some of those comments are definitely unreal. They just say that the N word has been used a couple of times. But for me, ultimately, it comes down to this. We have a democracy to defend. If we pride ourselves as the beacon of hope, as the beacon of freedom, what that looks like, and especially for those of us, who've come from other countries, who've, really embraced this country and have now called this country home, it's a privilege to be able to vote and participate in the political process. So I want to encourage really anybody who has that privilege to exercise that privilege. I don't care what political party you're affiliated with. Of course, I do care when it comes to those of you in my district. I would hope to have earned your vote through my experiences and what I'm bringing to the table. But ultimately, I just want to encourage people to get out. I tell my team all the time, even if you come across a door that is not supporting, our team or the Democratic Party, at least continue to encourage them to vote, right? Because that is the cornerstone of our democracy. And when we lose that right, then, we lose our democracy. So I want to encourage everybody, especially in this election cycle. I, again, don't care where you align yourself with, educate yourself. That there's still a lot of really good resources and sources, legitimate sources of information that you can educate yourself in terms of, whatever candidate, from the very top of the ticket all the way to your school board candidates, right, who hold so much power in terms of, our students and our educational system. And so it's specifically for me, I want to encourage our community, whatever you are around the U.S., please help me cross the finish line strong. Some of these things that we're trying to do are not cheap. And now that I'm a candidate for the second time around, it takes money to run a really successful campaign. And so far, I also want to acknowledge and appreciate the Kenyan community for literally giving 80% of the funds, the money that we've raised this election cycle. So that means that people are giving. But when I look at the power that we have as a collective, I was just telling, I think, Brother Ali, I was telling you, all I need is literally 400 of us to give $20, and that will be good. We will have everything we need to cross that finish line and finish strong, because how we finish will tell the story and will cast, will put me in a certain pedestal in terms of, my political power going into the Capitol. Like Denise said, this is just a part of a piece of the pie. When I get to the Capitol and when I've talked to, my friends and soon to be colleagues at the Capitol who've been there, done that, they keep on reminding me, like, Hulda, running as a candidate is completely different from once the campaign season is done and now you have to govern. There's a lot of politicking and political power and political will that is needed to really get some of the things that I am wanting to champion across the finish line. And like Denise said, it's about collaboration, but I want to make sure that I leave a strong sense of just momentum going in as a fresh rookie legislator, but with respect. They will look at my race and say, all right, she knows what she's doing. If she can do that for her campaign, then we can trust that she's capable of coming in here and helping really make the change that this district want to see and usher in a new era of leadership within this district. With that said, again, you can go to my website. You'll get all the information that you need. But I want to give this opportunity to Denise to really make sure that she wraps everything up when it comes to a campaign piece of it and what I have missed. Because as a candidate, I have 20 million things that are in my head, and I'm probably missing some really important key things. I would love for her to just summarize what we're looking at in the next 11 days and what we can expect and what we are asking the community beyond just money.
All right, Denise, in a brief 2 minutes, wrap it up for us. Take it home.
10 days, 9 hours, and 53 minutes. We have 10 days, 9 hours, and 53 minutes to make Huda Hisley the next Minnesota House of Representatives for Senate District 38A. And I know we can do that. How are we going to do that? We're going to show up to vote early. We're going to show up to vote on November 5th. We are going to call, make phone calls, do some phone banking. We're going to volunteer. And most importantly, we're going to give $1, $5, $20. There's no such thing as too much money to this campaign. Because believe it or not, in 2 more years, she'll be campaigning again to get back into this seat, right? And so we're going to need those same resources. Again, 10 days, 9 hours, and 52 minutes. And what do you need to do? You need to vote early. You need to show up on November 4th and 5th and vote. You need to volunteer, and you need to donate. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time and being with us here.
All right. Thank you so much, Denise.